Joining me now is former Florida Congressman and retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Lieutenant Colonel, good to have you on the program. Thanks for weighing in.
Thank you. Good morning, Maria.
I want to get your take on what we just heard there from Mr. Hansen, and that is the policy decision of having our military unarmed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that when you look at today's current global security threat and the rise of Islamic jihadism, we cannot continue on with this 1992-93 edict and administrative order. You know, you go back to June of 2009 and remember there was Carlos Bledsoe who traveled to Somalia and Yemen and came back and shot 2 United States Army soldiers at a Little Rock Army recruiting station, killing one and wounding another. And then, of course, we know later on in that year, November 2009, about Nadal Hassan and his terrorist attack, which the administration still calls workplace violence. So we have to do something in better protecting our men and women on these military installations, especially these reserve centers and these recruiting stations that are out in the civilian area and right along the streets.
I mean, when he first went to the first military site, he was staying in his car and shooting from his car. That's when one Marine was injured, and the 3 others were injured as well. But then he went to the second military site, the training facility, got out of the car, gun in hand, and shot those Marines who were just defenseless. Had they been armed, they could have protected themselves.
Well, it's not just had they been armed, but if they had had some type of security at the entrance and exit point.
Exactly.
He was able to plow right through the fence. And I experienced this recently in April the 18th at a Grand Prairie Army Reserve Center here in Texas. And I was just waved on by one single unarmed female contracted security individual. And what I was told is that if there is some type of attack, the local police are then notified to come in and react, not be proactive, but react. And that's exactly what you saw happen, was that it was local police and not military defending themselves. And that's the same thing that happened at the Washington Naval Yard, Maria.
Yeah, Dagan McDowell.
Colonel, good to see you. How quickly could the administration, if it wanted to, or the military, make the decision to arm these individuals, particularly in recruitment offices?
That could happen today. It could happen right as I'm speaking. When you have a president that is so eager to do executive orders for so many other things that are in violation of our Constitution, it seems to me it'd be very simple to do an executive order that says that he will allow for our military personnel at these reserve centers and also on our military installations to be able to protect and defend themselves, and he can just ask for a brief back from the respective generals in charge of these installations as far as how they're going to implement that.
What else needs to be done, sir, in terms of better understanding and getting our arms around the social online components here? I mean, how is it possible that he's got this blog talking about submitting to Allah and talking about, you know, life is short. If you don't submit to Allah now, you may miss your opportunity. This wasn't seen initially. I realize it was encrypted, but is there anything that can be done to better identify when you have this kind of jihadist talk online?
Well, this is the whole political correct world that we live in, and so many people are afraid of being castigated as an Islamophobe. Let's remember that Nadal Hassan, everything about his actions were known in Walter Reed Hospital there when he was proselytizing to soldiers that he was supposed to be treating. He had communications with Anwar al-Awlaki, who was later killed by a drone strike in Yemen. But yet Nadal Hassan was still transferred from Walter Reed down to Fort Hood, Texas, and then the rest is history, unfortunately, for the 13 that were killed and the 31 that was wounded. We've got to put aside this political correctness.
Yeah, well, what do you think should be done next in terms of this investigation? Where do you see investigators taking this now? Obviously, they went to his home, Abdulaziz's home, and they are questioning his family. But what other dots need to be connected from your standpoint?
Well, most important are the internet dots. We need to look at the people that he may have been associating with on the internet. We need to go and look at his worship center, whatever mosque that he had attended, and we need to talk to people there, and we need to look for indicators and warnings there. You know, we're just going to have to put aside the niceties of not wanting to offend people, and we've got to do the right type of trend analysis, or else this is going to happen again. Maria and Dagan, we know that ISIS was calling for attacks against our men and women in uniform here in the United States of America, and we did not take that serious.
That's right. I'm with Gary Smith this morning. Gary.
Colonel, I just want to ask one question. I think you brought up a good point that the military should be armed, they should be trained, and we should have secure entrances to all the facilities. But I want to ask you a question on the flip side. Do you have any idea or feel for how much cost and time it would take to do all that? Is that a no-brainer, or would that take a lot of infrastructure, training, arming, and things like that?
No, I don't think so. On, your standing military installations that you have the unit arms room. And what I'm talking about is, at least in certain unit areas, you should have a duty roster like we had when I was a young lieutenant back in 1982-83, that you had individuals that are armed, that are able to respond to instances. Now, when you start to look at some of the National Guard armories that are out there, we need to do the right type of security assessment, and there probably need to be some type of hardened barriers that are put up around them. But as far as what we saw happen at the Reserve Center, all it would have taken is to have someone, one of those Marines that was there from the unit arms room, that is armed and securing that post.
All right, we will leave it there. Colonel West, thank you very much for your insights. We'll see you soon.